What's a weird childhood ritual you still do today? When I'm on a hike I pick up a rock and carry it for about an hour. Then I put it down in a nice spot. I've done that since I was a kid, so rocks could change horizons and see the world. That's adorable. I guess. It used to be a real moral dilemma as I debated uprooting the rock and taking it away from its family, but ultimately I always end up doing it. I sort multicolored candy Skittles, Emmys, etc. into their respective color groups and eat them one color at a time. But I save one of each color for last and eat that group all at once. I do the same, but I have to make them even groups. Post color sorting. Eat 1 to make it an even 4 in the greens. Eat 3 to make it 4 in the blues, etc. Terrible examples, but still. Also, with M manuscript. Back when tan was still a color, my sister and I used to play Mario Brothers with them. We were ducking weird. Always take a sip of the water before I swallow a pill with it. Gotta make sure the throat works. Edit holy crap this blew up. Just wanted to thank everyone for the upvotes. Made my day. You'll rock. Edit to my first gold. Wouldn't have guessed me having to check if my throat works would bring me such joy. Thank you. Makes sense. Otherwise, the pill tends to stick to your tongue. Also, best tip about swallowing pills of any size: just drink. Don't think about the pill. Just drink the water. You won't even know the pill was there. As a kid, I was terrified of vampires due to watching the original made for TV Salem's Lot. I convinced myself that if I slept with the covers up to my chin, they couldn't bite my neck. Didn't work. But I still sleep with covers up to my neck when I lay down in my coffin in the morning. TV Salem's Lot. The scene where he's floating outside the window is ducking creepy. My mum taught me and my brothers about the superstitions with magpies when I was young. Seeing a magpie alone is bad luck, but you could get rid of the bad luck by saying, "Hello Mr. Magpie. How are you and your family today?" None of us believed the superstition, but we still do it. If I'm in public, they get a little salute, but still ask the question in my head. "Good morning Mr. Magpie. How's your wife and children?" I got told it defeats the bad luck of seeing a singular magpie. Saluting makes me feel like less of a loon for taking to myself. Suppose I still do. Saluting at a bird. Oh man. This is gonna sound so weird, and I have no idea why I did this, and sometimes still do. As a kid, I liked to time how long I peed, but I didn't use numbers. I would repeat the names of the fairies in Sleeping Beauty in my head and count how many times I said all 3. Flora, fauna, and Merryweather over and over while peeing. Sometimes, I subconsciously still do this. It was so constant as a kid, it's like I trained myself to recite this when I pee. Edit thank you kind internet stranger for my first ever gold. If you say it when you're not peeing, does it make you need to wee? Rushing upstairs or into bed after turning out the light. Sometimes I try to walk to prove to myself I can do it, but then I hear something and the adrenaline kicks in, so I book it. This is completely me. I'm just like tonight. I shall be brave and walk up casually. Takes about 4 steps. Here's small noise, duck this shit, I'm out. Walk along ledges instead of the footpath. I still do this. I also find myself strategically avoiding cracks in the sidewalk. When I eat a cosmic brownie, I always eat the side with less sprinkle fingers first, so I'm more satisfied when I finish the whole thing. I push all the sprinkles down into the brownie and cover them up, so you can't see them anymore. Once when I was a teenager, I was all dressed up for something, in heels, and I did a little mock tap dance in the kitchen. My mom looked at me with a little smile on her face and said, "You know, you used to do that when you were 2 years old anytime you wore your dress shoes." Still do. Dress shoes are for tap dancing. Fancy shoes are definitely for tap. I have a galley kitchen that leads through the center of my house. I like to do the traveling triple buffalo along its length to make my soul laugh. Although now I'm larger and actually sound like a buffalo hoofing along. Tap dancing is forever. When I go to the beach I always draw a circle around our stuff. Yeah no. To protect us from the sea bear. There's no CB. The circle works guys. Edit thank you kind stranger for the silver. When I was a child my mother made a large round rug out of old pants. It's beautiful with lots of bright colors. We loved racing around it as children pretending it was a round racetrack, or doing a Indian dance around pretending that the red center was our fire. As an adult my mother gave me her old rug. I saved it from being trashed as it had no special meaning to her. When I'm pacing my house while talking on the phone, or thinking I catch myself walking around in circles on the rug. It's like my own personal sticky trap. Here's a pic of the rug, link found in his comment history. Not sure why it wasn't posted under here. Cool rug though. Was actually much nicer than I pictured from the old pants description. Walk on the side of the staircase so it doesn't creak as much. Didn't want my parents to know I was up and about. Me too. I still skip the squeakiest steps even though I'm grown now and don't have to sneak anywhere. Still sit in the shower like I did when I was a kid. Heck if I'm gonna stand there for the most relaxing time of the day. Edit a few recurring questions I've gotten. I just sit in the shower. Don't have a chair, but now I'm thinking of it. I do clean my shower regularly, so it's quite clean. Also, I don't sit when I'm not at home. Seems gross to me. I do it regardless of if I'm in the throes of depression or feeling good. Same. For some reason, I've always called it my defrost time. In the morning I have my James Bond shower. It gets progressively hotter then blasted on the coldest setting for however long I can take it. It wakes me up and gets me ready for my day of misery. Then when I come home I just have a nice warm hot shower and just decompress with no temperature change. When I see the clock is at a specific hour exactly, like 7, I'll very softly say bang that number of times, like I'm a grandfather clock. Clock strikes 12. Mutters to self water pipe, 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 water pipe. I used to work in a shop that sold tobacco accessories. Edit Daffok. When I was a kid, I'd always eat one thing on my plate at a time, unless it was something like corn mashed potatoes. Then I'd mix that together. I'm a grown man these days, still eating everything individually off my plate. Apparently it's noticeable because people have questioned me about it. These days I just tell them that if I'm poisoned by my constituents, they'll know which item was poisoned. That's a great answer. I need to start blaming my constituents for more things. I blow in my cup before filling it with liquid. I used to think that blowing in the cup would remove the germs. I do that too, but only to cups I use for myself. I do it to remove possible dust, but in reality I probably blow spit all over. It helps with detecting dirty cups that roommates have put in the cupboards, though. Whenever I go up my staircase I still climb my way up. My kid calls it 4WD. Edit my first Reddit hardware. Thank you. I rub my feet together till I fall asleep. Also, saving best food for last. Fries and then burger. Garlic bread then Alfredo. Also rarely drink anything while eating. I always rub my feet together too. It's oddly comforting. If I can't sleep on my stomach with my right knee pulled up and left arm straight out under my head, I can't sleep. Sucks when you have shoulder issues. Reverse the sides. But that's how I sleep when no other position will work. Makes me super sore in the morning. But at least I can sleep. This is going to sound silly, but every night, before I fall asleep I lay in bed and write stories in my head. I thought I would grow out of it eventually, but now the stories are just way more complex, lol. I thought it was just me. I have an elaborate sci-fi story going on, and have done for years. I never remember any of it until I start falling asleep. I still shake the milk carton before pouring it. I think this came from when my dad left and all we could afford was powdered milk. But I honestly cannot drink milk if it hasn't been shaken. I feel like it won't be uniform. Whenever I hear an airplane or helicopter I look up to find it. Edit AI my first silver. Thank you kind person. I still do that too. It never gets old. Sometimes you get to see really awesome planes too. I've seen a B-29 and a B-24. When I was a kid, my dad would surprise my sister and I with junk night. We'd go to the grocery store and he'd buy us anything we'd want for the night. Candy, popcorn, surge soda, ice cream, etc. Then we'd get pizza or McDonald's and a video rental and have fun all night. He only did it like twice a year, but it was always a surprise and so exciting. I still do that with my girlfriend, and I'll do it for my kids when I have them. Edit. I'm so glad to hear everyone who wants to share this tradition with their family. You guys are awesome. We used to have this, but we dragged all our mattresses out in front of the TV and vegged out eating our junk treats. We called it Mattress City. I put milk in my ice cream. My dad grew up very poor and always moving around. So even as a kid he learned to stretch a buck. This was back in the 70s. When I was a kid though, even though my dad had pretty decent money, he would still pour milk into my ice cream and turn it into basically a big bowl of milkshake. To this day I still do the same, and I'm 25. It's just how I enjoy ice cream. Makes it a little less sweet, and you feel like you are overindulging on a ton of ice cream when it's about 1/3 milk. I still bite the head and legs off of animal crackers before eating the rest of the cracker. Edit. Thanks for my first silver. I always eat the legs first so they can't run away. I'm 28 and I still use the magic thought. If insert something happens, then insert something good will happen to me. Edit. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. Edit. 2. No, I don't have OCD. It's just one of the symptoms, and yes, I can stop wherever I want. I just go like, if I stop doing it, then insert something good will happen. I do it, but for betting, if girls will like me. Mostly incorrect, lol. Whenever I eat, I always leave the best for last. Eat a little of the good parts first, then move on to the less good parts. If the world ends in the middle of my meal, I don't want to miss out. My dad would offer me the best bite from whatever he was eating. The bite of the cheeseburger where the cheese is curled perfectly over the edge of the hamburger. The center bite of a steak. The end point of a piece of pie. He would let me examine his food and point to the best bite, which he would then feed me. I do the same for my kids and my husband, and I do this for each other. When I was 6, me and my father made a cute little handshake. We did every day when he left for work and when he would come home. Now 27, I still do it when I see my dad. One day when I have kids I'm going to pass it down to them. Edit. Thank you for the silver 3. Edit. Gold platinum. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. That will make your dad so happy. When my kids were little we would take turns making up a story before bed. My daughter now does this with my grandson. It makes me so happy to know that this bedtime routine meant so much to her. Starting in kindergarten, when I got home from school I'd put my stuff down, go in my room, close the door, and lay down and stare at the ceiling for about 10 minutes. I still do this when I get home from work. My parents used to think this was incredibly disturbing behavior, but I've had undiagnosed and now diagnosed anxiety problems since I was very young, and this routine was a way for me to decompress from the day before I was forced to continue socializing with people. Edit. For those saying this is meditation and a normal behavior not caused by anxiety, depending on what your thinking patterns are at the time. Laying down can be a meditative practice, or it can be a physical shutdown triggered by a massive overload of social situations and pressure that is inescapable throughout the day. As I explained it elsewhere, I lay down because it's like I'm drowning in my own head, and those 10 minutes of silence let a little bit of water leak out so I can breathe again. If anyone reading this takes those few minutes to relax for different reasons and doesn't have anxiety issues, that's awesome. I definitely do this because I suffer from diagnosed clinical anxiety, so it's unnecessary to comment and tell me that I don't. I'm 35, and if I don't have those 10 minutes in my own head when I get home, I'm bitchy all night. I love my boyfriend to bits, but I can't even talk to him until I've had my deep breathing time. Switching from work to relax mode. I always make sure to say goodbye to all the household pets before leaving. I always tell my dog I love you. Be good. Don't die. She is 14, and I fear, if I don't tell her this, I will come home, and she will be dead. I have even walked all the way to my car before, just to realize I didn't say it. Then walk all the way back, and be late for work, just to say it to her. I've got 3 dogs ranging from 10 months old to my old man at 17.5 years. Ever since we was 13 or so I made sure to give him extra pets and ear scratches while telling him I love him whenever I spent the night away from home. Just in case you know. That being said, at this point I'm half convinced he might be immortal. When I fall asleep, I like to pretend I'm very cold and in a cave outdoors. I've done it all my life. When I became a mother, I couldn't imagine it without also imagining my daughter was there. But even in this imaginary scenario, I had to imagine that she was there with me, but somehow safe and warm in her pack and play in a safe sleep position. That last part is too cute, like I'm in a cold cave. But thank God I brought the pack and play, the Halo sleep sack, and the white noise machine, so my daughter is happy and comfortable. Definitely peak momming. When I was younger I'd help my mum fold bed sheets. You know, we each grab an end, put the corners together twice to fold lengthways, and then walk towards each other to fold widthways. I used to always give my mum a hug at the end of it, with the bed sheets pressed between us. This would repeat for as many sheets as we needed to fold 1 or 2 or 3, you know. Now I'm 33 years old, and when me and my wife fold sheets together, we end it with a hug plus she gets a little kiss. Edit. Thank you kind people for my first ever silver and gold. As kids, we always got to open our birthday presents in our parents' bed first thing in the morning before school. Before breakfast. We still do that today with our own kids. My son is in his mid-teens and I think he wants us to think he's too cool for this, but he likes it still. My wife didn't get this at first, but I insisted. She now loves this, since her mom put her presents out on the coffee table in the morning, but made her wait until the very end of the day, after dinner, to open any of them. My mother-in-law is a raging narcissist and liked to exercise control in any petty way she could muster. This among them. My wife pointed out that we did it this way in our family and it annoyed the piss out of my mother-in-law. Didn't you like the anticipation? Mom, I was ducking 5 years old. No, I ducking didn't. You couldn't keep them in the closet until later. You like to put them out there just to ducking lord it over me. Duck that noise. Birthday presents get opened as soon as you wake up. Now and always. Until a few months ago I stood up to wipe. Had no idea I was doing something weird. Until my wife walked in and she has been making fun of me ever since. Sometimes I hike my leg onto the sink so I can really get in there and be sure. Edit. Gold for a comment about wiping my ass. Stay classy, Reddit. You magnificent disgusting bastards. When my mom would hold our hands as little kids she taught us this thing. She'd squeeze your hand 3 times and that meant I love you. You'd squeeze back 2 times and that meant how much. Then you'd both squeeze really hard at the same time and that meant lots. I taught it to my husband when we got married, and I've taught it to my 2-year-old son. I'll teach it to my daughter. But the time as an adult that stands out the most was at my grandfather's funeral. We all had to walk out of the sanctuary after his coffin. I had been strong the whole time, but started to cry walking down the aisle. It was also final. My sister caught up to me and grabbed my hand. She squeezed it 3 times and we went through the whole thing. Edit. Wow, thank you so much for the gold. This made me teary. I love it. I got my dog Snoopy when I was 10 years and ever since he was a puppy he had this love for lettuce. He would go absolutely nuts for it, and so whenever I had a sandwich or a burger I would give him some of my lettuce. Over the years it became a ritual that whenever I prepared any food that involved lettuce for myself, I would grab extra lettuce for him so I could toss it to him as I ate. He passed away 4 years ago after almost 17 years together, but I still find myself grabbing that bit of extra lettuce for him. I was at Burger King one day, an elderly man came in and asked for some lettuce. The employees acted like this guy was a weirdo. Lettuce? You just want lettuce? He continues. I was just in the drive-thru. I ordered other food. I asked for an extra side lettuce and didn't get it. Please. I'd like a side of lettuce. The manager walks up and asks what the problem was. He says there's no problem. I just want a side of lettuce. Charge me for a Whopper if you need to, but I only want the lettuce. The manager says you only want lettuce. I can get that for you. She walks away and comes back with some lettuce wrapped in the paper they put burgers in. He thanked her, walked outside and placed it on the ground where his lil pup ate it up. It was a heartfelt moment for me.